So let's dive into a really fascinating story. It's about the origin of something called GENII, a totally new way of thinking about AI that was born out of a hackathon that honestly should never have even happened. This is part one of our three-part explainer on the 2025 Tel Aviv Hackathon Bootcamp. All right, let's get into it. Once might be predicted. Twice is prescribed. We're starting with this quote because it really sets the tone for this whole story. It's this idea that some things aren't just a coincidence. An event that defies the odds once? Okay, maybe. But twice? Well, then you start to think it was meant to be. All right, so this first chapter is all about that impossible invitation and how it brought together two people who, on paper, have absolutely no business working together, a human rights lawyer and a white hat hacker. Okay, so picture this. The year is 2020. The entire world is in lockdown. Everything's shut down. And yet, an invitation to a 24-hour, in-person startup bootcamp in Tel Aviv somehow lands in the inboxes of our two main characters. I mean, an event like that, at that time, it was completely and utterly impossible. And who gets this impossible invitation? Two people who are about as different as you can possibly get. On one side, you have a retired international human rights lawyer, the pragmatist, and on the other, a retired white hat hacker, the provocateur. I mean, you couldn't write a more unlikely pairing. So they're thrown together into this absolute chaos. You've got the high-pressure cooker of a 24-hour boot camp. The world is locked down outside, and our source material says there were conflicting agendas on multiple levels. It was in this incredibly intense environment that a truly revolutionary idea started to brew. And that chaos, it wasn't just a random backdrop. It was actually the perfect metaphor for the very problem that these two founders were trying to solve. A problem that gets right to the heart of artificial intelligence and its biggest, most fundamental flaw. To really get what they were after, you have to understand this quote. Torah isn't in the cloud. This is from the Talmud, and it's the answer to why pure logic just doesn't work in a world full of human beings with free will. It suggests that real wisdom, the deep stuff, can't just be digitized and stored on a server. And that right there is where traditional AI just hits a brick wall. See, AI runs on logic, on ones and zeros. But human nature? It's messy, it's unpredictable, it's often completely irrational. And that's the key insight here. You can't just write a simple algorithm to capture the collective will of humanity. It's way too complex. I mean, just think about it for a second. Why on earth is taking extreme, life-threatening risks considered a sport? To a purely logical AI, it makes zero sense. It's a net negative with no logical upside. And yet, we celebrate it. This is a perfect example of something essential to human nature that a machine just can't compute. And the questions go even deeper. Why are we allowed, and sometimes even encouraged, to harm ourselves or others? Most technology, by default, is designed to prevent harm. You have to actively tell it to do something destructive. So how could a machine that thinks only in logic ever truly understand that part of us? And what's the consequence of this massive disconnect between clean machine logic and our messy human reality? Well, our source argues it has led to a generation that feels lost, a generation that struggles to value life and doesn't really believe it has a future. But out of all that chaos, an answer started to emerge. And it wasn't just another app or a new gadget, it was a whole new paradigm, a completely different way of thinking about what intelligence even means. This brings us to quantum intelligence, or QI. Now, let's be really clear here. This isn't about quantum computing. They're using the word quantum as a metaphor for a system that can handle multiple, even contradictory realities all at the same time. You know, kind of like the human brain does every single day. Think about it like this. Standard AI is amazing with logistics. It can nail the what, the how, the when, and the where. It processes facts like nothing else. But it gets completely stuck on the one question that gives all those other facts their meaning. The QI system flips the whole process on its head. It starts with the most important question first, who? By putting the human element, the intention, the context at the very beginning, it changes everything that comes after. So, how do we navigate this incredibly complex human-first world? Well, the answer they came up with is quantum intelligence. A system that's designed to augment our intuition, not to replace it. Okay, so this is a great idea, this concept of quantum intelligence. But how do you actually turn an abstract idea like that into a real, tangible tool that people can use? Well, that's where GenAI comes into the picture. GenAI is basically QI in action. It stands for Generative Quantum Intelligence with Intentional Intelligence. It's the practical application, the manifestation, of that entire QI philosophy. And here's where the story gets really wild. During that same lockdown, this wasn't just a theory on a whiteboard. They actually deployed it. They fed this new model, these new algorithms, directly into the cloud and into existing AI systems. And all of this brings the story right up to today. It frames what's happening with this technology as a massive turning point for all of us. The stakes really could not be higher. Think about it. 5 years after that fateful bootcamp, we're standing right at the crossroads they predicted. AI isn't some far-off concept anymore. It's woven into the very fabric of our lives. It's everywhere. So, the goal of quantum intelligence is to help guide this AI takeover with 3 simple but really profound rules. Number 1, do no harm. Number 2, do good if you can. And number 3, which might be the most crucial, if you're unsure, just ask. And this all leads us to the central question of our time, doesn't it? As this technology accelerates, what's our role going to be? Who gets left behind? And who gets to guide where we go from here? So we'll leave you with this choice. Are we going to step up and guide our incredible technology with a deeper, more human wisdom, or are we just going to let it run on pure logic alone and see what happens? It's a huge question, and we're going to dive even deeper into it in part 2.